This is total garbage. No, not Zelda entirely, I mean this freaking menu, which I spend more time in than anything else, because it is terribly designed, where you have to scroll through dozens and dozens, if not hundreds eventually, of objects to find the one you want. And these sorting options are a joke, especially because you can't even go back through them, you have to cycle all the way around.
Too late, I'm in the 40s, gotta go around the horn.
And I don't know why Nintendo keeps bringing it back. It started off almost 10 years ago in Breath of the Wild, where it sucked. Then they brought it back again in Tears of the Kingdom, where it sucked even more thanks to that horrible fuse menu. And finally, here it is again in Echoes of Wisdom with all these freaking echoes, and I am sick of it, especially in a top-down Zelda where I shouldn't be spending this much time on a menu. It is somehow worse than the original Game Boy version of Link's Awakening, and that's saying something. So in this video, I want to cover two things. One, I think I can fix this. Now, I'm not a menu expert, of course, but I have a few ideas for how they can actually improve this and make it better in future Zeldas. And I'm actually surprised Nintendo has not done this themselves yet. So I've got a few mock-ups we'll get to in a second. Second, though, is what we'll do first, ironically, is I have a couple of steps you can do right now to make it a little bit better for you if you're as annoyed by these menus as me. And step number one for fixing it yourself, and by fixing I mean making it slightly better, is that instead of holding right on the D-pad, use L instead. L acts as a shortcut. I don't know if the game really even tells you about it, but it's much easier. You don't take your thumb off the control stick, so use L for the quick access menu instead of right on the D-pad. It's just way more convenient, and I highly recommend it. Second is, this isn't a perfect option, but there is another way of accessing these echoes that might be a little bit easier, because if you bring up the quick access menu, you'll see the option for the notebook, where if you press plus on the controller, it will bring you to the notebook version, which lets you see way more icons at a time. And I actually find this to be a lot easier in many cases. Now, it unfortunately always sorts by type rather than some other sorting method you may prefer, but at least again you can see the whole selection at once, which I personally myself find easier to use in some cases. So I might suggest using the quick access menu for your last used or most used objects or echoes, and then using the notebook for everything else, because I just find again sorting it this way is a lot easier for me to visually conceptualize, especially because it makes way better use of the screen real estate rather than a single row, and I again don't know how they arrived at that decision. Okay, so those are my two tips for how to make it slightly better for using the Echo's quick access menu or the menu in general, but now I want to show you my concepts for how they could improve the menu experience in future Zeldas. Now keep in mind, I mocked these up together quickly and I have videos of a few others, so these are pretty half-assed.
Please excuse the crudity of this model.
But I hopefully will illustrate my ideas, and they're not even that amazing of ideas. Like, these are all pretty simple steps I'm shocked Nintendo hasn't used. So let's go and bring up my mock-ups here, and right off the bat, add a second row. You have all this vertical real estate. Why are we locked to just one row when you could easily fit another on there? So what I would recommend is actually possibly using sorting it by type. So rather than, with the type menu already being a little confusing with it seemingly putting objects first and then enemies later with no gap between them, why not separate those two? Have objects on top, have enemies on the bottom. There you go, simple enough. Heck, there's enough room here, as you can see, to add a third row. And one of my ideas actually is to make that third row a row of favorites, as indicated by the cute little 8-bit Zelda icon there. So why not add a third row for either another sorting type or for your favorites, as I mentioned, so you can easily, go between the three options. I think it makes a lot of sense. Seems like a pretty simple addition. Yeah, it may not be the prettiest option, especially with my quick mock-up, but again, I will take usability over prettiness, and the default menu is not even that pretty anyway, so whatever. Now here's another option I think Nintendo could do that may not be quite as quick as these options, but I do think would help in the short term at least, and that is, why not group similar objects together? As you go through the game, you will encounter basically upgraded forms of various objects or enemies, like beds or the mummies here, or whatever they're called, and my idea is that why not have it so each of those objects has a vertical option too, so when you highlight it, it'll bring up every variant of that object, then you press up or down to find them. This will consolidate a lot of the objects into a much smaller area, so you don't have to scroll through an entire list to find them all. And I think it would just be more interesting, more fun, and quicker to access it this way. Alright, so this is my basic ideas for how to improve the menu as is. I mean, using this paradigm that they have right now for fixing the menu or updating it for a future game. If they really want to stick with this, linear row-based idea. But I think if they want to expand it and go even farther out there, I think they easily could, and they've done things like this before. So here's example number one, where why not bring in the radial menus from Mario Maker? They already have these circles in other games have done this too. It's not unique to this. In fact, Skyward Sword has done this, and other games. I think Twilight Princess on the Wii. Why not add a radial menu where you can easily see multiple objects at once? You can see other wheels nearby too, in Mario Maker 2 at least, and I can just point to the object I want. I don't have to scroll through everyone. I literally just point at the object with the control stick. It seems so simple. I don't know why they haven't done this. Look, on this screen alone, we're able to see, what, I think probably 20 objects or so, or around there, if not even a little bit more. I can't count, just FYI. as compared to like, what, 10 at most on the other Zelda menu we were just looking at? But speaking of radial menus, I think we can do even better. Because I've talked about this before on Twitter, but one of my favorite menus of all time belongs in Beyond Good and Evil. And unfortunately, only used it for a small part of the game, not even the inventory screen. And just for text entry, but look at this work of genius, this work of art, where you have this radial menu. It can display, it can be as long as you need it to be, display anything you want, and at any given time you can see over 20 objects at once, and in this case it allows you to input, a character on the keyboard, and you can scroll through it in a analog manner. So if you want to go through it quicker, you just rotate the control stick faster. So you can easily, fast forward to the beginning or end of the menu. It even cycles back onto itself when you reach the end, which you can kind of see a little bit here, and I think that is brilliant. And I don't know why every game isn't using this option, but luckily there is one other game that actually uses for an actual inventory, and that is Prey. Here is an example of how Prey uses it. This is for their favorites menu, which exactly as you can see over 20 objects at once. You can quickly cycle through it with the control stick by rotating it, and it is absolute genius. And I don't know why they don't do something like that in Zelda, which would be so much more preferable to this linear menu, which look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you can barely see 12 objects at once, when you can have easily 20 that you can sort through instantly without having to scroll through this linear list in a very slow fashion, and relying on you to sort it yourself, using this terrible categorical system that you can't even backtrack through. So I think I hope Nintendo watches this video, although I'm sure there are people on staff who have thought of these same ideas, and I don't know what the roadblock is. I don't know why they keep insisting on this terrible linear menu when there's so many other better options available, including just using more rows. So I'm hoping that Nintendo gets a message after this, because I'm tired of dealing with this menu in all the new Zelda games, and what I'd love for them to go to reinvent themselves and actually make it so I don't have to fight the menu. I don't want to spend more time in the menus than I have to, and that is a failure of the more recent Zeldas, where I feel like I have been, especially with all these cool mechanics they're adding that rely on these menus. So I really hope that they improve this in the future. Whether it's more rows, more custom build, allowing you to customize them, maybe allow you to pin objects on the menus, or even adding the radial menus or circular menus or radial menus as I touched on. So there you go, everyone, a quick rundown of how I think Nintendo could improve Zelda in the future, if not patching this one, at least for the next one, because I need them to. I honestly barely even used Fuse and Tears of the Kingdom. I hated that menu so much. And of course, I can't ignore the echoes and echoes of wisdom, which I wouldn't want to, but I kind of want to at times at how bad this menu is. So here's hoping they fix this in the future. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Everyone, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Are you as annoyed by this as I am? Do you think Nintendo can improve it? Do you have other ideas for what they could do beyond even what I've shown off here? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear you. And otherwise, click that like button if you agree, or even if you disagree. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And stay tuned for more from us for all kinds of random things and wherever it comes to mind. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll catch you later. Bye.